Unusual happenings began to unfold in an old mining region of France when strange noises echoed through the dark tunnels at night. Locals reported shadows moving out of sight, sending shivers down their spines. These eerie events fueled stories of a terrifying creature buried deep underground. The townspeople whispered about an ancient monster trapped for 3,000 years, slowly changing into something dreadful. Fear spread through the community as they worried that this beast might soon rise again. In this tense atmosphere, a group of brave miners decided to investigate the mystery, eager to uncover the truth behind the chilling legends that haunted their home. Their journey began in 1965 when a young man named Amir had a nightmare that shook him to his core. In this terrible dream, he saw miners trapped underground, struggling to escape a dreadful creature awakening from its long slumber. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he jolted awake, the chilling images still fresh in his mind. Determined to shake off the fear, Amir hurried to meet his friend, who reminded him they needed to leave soon if they wanted to secure a job in the nearby mines. They rushed to the recruitment point, where many hopefuls gathered for a hard but well-paying job. At the front of the line stood the foreman, holding two stamps, one red for those deemed unsuitable, and a green one for the chosen few. As the foreman moved along the line, anxiety gripped Amir's heart. He watched as his fellow applicants received their stamps, the hope of a brighter future glimmering in their eyes. When his turn came, Amir's heart sank as the foreman placed a red stamp on his application. Feeling desperate, he quickly snatched the green stamp from the foreman's hand and pressed it onto his application, leaving several green imprints. Laughter erupted from the others, but Amir's gamble paid off and he was accepted into the mining crew. Amir soon found himself heading to a mining company in the Pacal region of northern France, excitement bubbling within him. Little did he know, he had been signed to the infamous Fifth Mine, a dark place locals ominously called the Devil's House. As Amir arrived, the air felt heavy with unease. The mine had a reputation for being dangerous and cursed, but the promise of good pay overshadowed his fears. One day, a well-known scientist named Professor Berthier visited the mine, requesting to descend specifically into the Fifth Mine. Usually, this mine was reserved for offenders, adding to its eerie reputation. Just as they prepared to go down, an injured miner was brought to the surface, carried by the foreman, Roland. Concerned for the man's safety, Berthier insisted on descending alongside him. At this moment, reinforcements from Morocco arrived, and Amir was assigned to Roland's crew. As Amir settled in, he met the other miners, including Santini, who showed him the ropes. Under Roland's supervision, Amir was assigned a mentor to guide him through the hard work ahead. As they descended into the depths of the mine, Amir felt a mix of excitement and discomfort. He turned on his headlamp, gripping his tools tightly, but the work proved to be harder than he anticipated. In the chaos, Amir accidentally injured his hand while using a jackhammer. Roland sent him to the horsekeeper for a break. To Amir's surprise, he found a living horse in the dark, blind but still serving its purpose in the mine. The horse was a reminder of how times were changing, as machinery was soon set to take over. Later, Roland noticed a rat had crawled into Amir's bag, nibbling at his lunch. The foreman explained that rats could sense danger, so miners often fed them. He handed Amir an apple in exchange for his spoiled sandwich, urging him to keep working. Exhaustion weighed heavily on Amir after his first shift, but he was determined not to give up. A week later, Roland announced that Professor Berthier would join them in the mine, and they would be well paid for it. The professor explained that they needed to reach a specific area, requiring the miners to blow up a wall. As the miners descended into the depths, anticipation hung in the air. Roland assigned a sapper to carry out the blast. After the explosion, a gaping hole appeared in the floor, revealing a void that made the miners uneasy. Despite their hesitation, they moved forward. Roland, sensing the tension, tried to pry information out of Berthier about what he was searching for, but the professor remained tight-lipped. Frustrated, Roland threw Berthier's notebook down the hole in a fit of anger. Undeterred, Berthier volunteered to go down first, eager to find what he sought. As the group entered the dungeon of the old mine, a sense of dread washed over them. Roland recalled the chilling legend of the mine's curse, a fire that had raged out of control a century ago, trapping 30 miners who had never escaped. They bricked up the mine, sealing the horror inside. While the miners searched, Berthier mysteriously vanished. Roland quickly divided his crew into 2 groups to look for the professor. They shouted his name, but no response came. In a twist of fate, Amir's group stumbled upon a human skeleton holding a strange polyhedron in its hands. As Amir examined the remains, he noticed the bones were crushed, with an inscription on the wall warning that anyone who entered was cursed, hunted by a monster that lurked in the darkness. Trying to lighten the mood, Santini made a joke, but fear hung thick in the air. As they regrouped with Roland's team, they discovered more human bones scattered around the area. A flickering light ahead revealed Berthier, but the miners confronted him, demanding answers about why they had been brought into this nightmare. Berthier promised to explain everything, but only if they could clear another passage. Reluctantly, the sapper prepared for another blast. After the explosion, the miners were met with a sight that sent chills down their spines: piles of human bones mixed with ancient weapons. Berthier could hardly believe what he saw, speculating that these might be the remains of guards protecting a sacred place. The miners pressed on, discovering a sarcophagus covered in ancient carvings. Berthier explained that according to legend, it might contain an ancient deity that had once dwelled in these dungeons. As the professor snapped pictures, Roland urged everyone to return to the surface. But just then, the horse broke free, bolting into the darkness, and the entrance suddenly collapsed, trapping them inside. Amid the confusion, Santini was seriously injured, and Berthier demanded complete secrecy about the incident. Roland, furious, cursed the scientist, but their priority shifted to caring for the wounded. The miners split up, searching for another way out while Roland tended to Santini's injury. In a desperate attempt to find a way out, Amir discovered his fellow miners returning to the sarcophagus. Despite his protests, they insisted on opening it. With sheer force, they tried to lift the heavy lid, but it wouldn't budge. Suddenly, Amir remembered the polyhedron he had found. He pulled it out, inserting it into a slot on the sarcophagus lid. With a click, the lid shifted open, revealing something covered in fabric, atop which lay precious ingots. The miners rushed to collect the treasure, knowing the mine would soon be closed, leaving them without jobs. Amir, however, felt a deep sense of dread and tried to dissuade them, warning them about the risks of disrespecting the dead. But they ignored him, threatening violence if he got in their way. Desperate and heartbroken, Amir fled into the shadows, feeling utterly alone. Meanwhile, the miners continued to argue about the morality of their actions, unaware of the dark presence rising from the sarcophagus. Amir heard wild screams and turned to see his friends running for their lives, pursued by something sinister. Roland initially didn't believe their frantic warnings, but as long, bony fingers emerged from the shadows and snatched one of the miners, panic erupted. The remaining miners fled, finding a bloody trail leading to their fallen comrade. Berthier, now filled with terror, confessed that they would not be disturbed for another 10 hours. He explained that the mine had once been home to an unknown civilization, which worshipped the deity from the sarcophagus, believing it descended from the sky over 3,000 years ago. Amir joined the conversation, suggesting that the sarcophagus was actually a prison. As everyone remembered Santini, they rushed to find him, but an ominous sound echoed through the mine. Amid the chaos, Amir and Berthier pressed on, trying to decipher the ancient inscriptions on the walls. They learned about 9 graves scattered around the world, each connected to the monstrous beings trapped below, waiting for a time when they would awaken, needing sacrifices to survive. Amir stumbled upon a palindrome, a phrase that read the same backward and forward. This discovery sparked a realization in Berthier. The entrance was also an exit. In a panic, Amir rushed to the lever that could save them, but as he did, the corpse of the horse suddenly twitched. From it emerged a monstrous figure, extending its terrible arms. In horror, Amir watched as the professor embraced the creature, welcoming death. Fueled by adrenaline, Amir dashed to the lever, hoping to escape, The miners on the other side helped him out, sealing the door behind them. With Berthier's notes in hand, Amir promised to lead everyone to safety, unaware that the monster was already opening the door behind them. As they reached a crossroads, the miners heard the monster's characteristic sounds growing closer. Roland suggested they turn off their lights, plunging the mine into darkness. But when they switched on their lamps again, the creature was nearly upon them. In a brutal attack, the monster struck one of the miners dead, dragging another into the shadows. Amir and Roland managed to escape, but Roland was overcome with grief and rage, losing all his friends. As tensions flared, Amir recalled the palindrome, pointing them in a new direction. They soon arrived at a long-forgotten bone graveyard, discovering it was where the lost miners had met their end. Realization dawned on Roland. This was the only way to save themselves. With time running out, Amir and Roland fled into the labyrinth, desperately searching for a way out. Finally, they found a shaft leading to the surface, but they needed to climb. With every ounce of strength, they pulled themselves up, finally breaking free into the light of day. But the past haunted them, and even as they escaped, the mine remained cursed. They had discovered ancient secrets, but they also had stirred something deep within. Amir knew the story of the Devil's House would never truly end. It would forever loom over them, a chilling reminder of greed and terror. Do you think the creature still lurks beneath the surface, waiting for the next unlucky souls to disturb it?